Hi, it's Erica. In the spirit of being a little more casual, I decided to do this video with no tripod and outside. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm talking today about writing a sympathy card. And basically, when you do this, you just have to go for it. Um, I actually have a much harder time writing sympathy cards for losses of humans than animals, and I think that many of us may feel the same way. Um, I got a lot of sympathy cards when my mom passed away, and my relationship with my mom was really complicated and not always the greatest. And so I felt like every sympathy card that I got just didn't quite hit the mark. And as a result, when I write a sympathy card for a person, I'm so aware that there's so much that I don't know about the relationship. But our relationships with pets are really simpler than that. And at least from my point of view, it's not so hard to write something that rings true for an animal. Many times I have people tell me that they actually had a harder time grieving the loss of their animal than they did the loss of a parent, and they find that surprising, but I find that not surprising at all. Animals don't worry about whether we let them down. They don't have really high requirements of us. They just want to love and be loved, and that is so refreshingly straightforward sometimes compared to our relationships with people. So when I write a sympathy card, I start out usually by just saying, "I'm so sorry for your loss." And I usually end pretty much the same way. I say, "Thinking of you with great sympathy," and then my name, or "with deep sympathy." And then in between, I just try to say as much as I know about the person's relationship with their animal. So if they told me any little stories, I might reference those, or I might say, I know that Fuzzy really loved to sit in the window and look at the birds, or I remember the story you told me about Joe and how he stole the shoe that time, and he sure was a funny dog. Like, just anything that helps the person know that their animal was seen and known by somebody that's not just them. And the other thing that I do is just reference how I'm sure the person is missing the animal very much, because we do, and sometimes I know that the person is going to grieve that loss intensely, and so I might mention that. I think the house often feels strangely empty after a pet is gone, and it's not unusual for me to mention that. And in my position as a veterinarian, a lot of people really want reassurance that they made a good choice at a good time. And so if I have a sense that they are looking for that, I might tell them that. I don't think that's really appropriate for a non-veterinarian who wasn't, involved in that choice necessarily, unless maybe you were involved in that choice. Maybe you helped that person through their struggles with deciding about euthanasia, and in that case it could be totally appropriate to put that down. And if you knew the pet at all personally, you can share some of your favorite recollections of that pet or their personality. But the number one thing, and what I always resort to when I write a sympathy card for a human loss, which I always find so much more challenging, is that it doesn't have to be perfect or fantastic. It's so much better to write it than not to write it. And so just do it, just go for it. And if it's just a few sentences, it's really fine. Getting the card is what means the most to people. And of course it's wonderful if it's a brilliant, insightful card, but just to have a card, just to know that you care about them and that you thought of them, is the number one thing. So any comments, feel free to leave them, and if you have questions or would you like to make an appointment for a consultation, just give me a call, 802-552-8224. Check out my website, heartofvermontvet.com. There's a contact form there. You can send me an email that way, and keep writing. Thanks. Bye.